Welcome, Lillian. Kindly have a seat. And good morning. Yes, kindly do. You can be helped to do so. Yeah. Yeah, before you have a mic, which you put on to speak. You have a notebook and some water if you wish to use it. But allow me to thank you and congratulate you for choosing to consider our application and the application, the request of Kenyans to you to seek the position of chair. It was public, and among the few, you actually chose to put in your application, and we are grateful for that. It's an immense honor for us to be able to interact with you this morning and to have people who are willing to serve Kenya in the position of chair of IEBC. So you have a brief session of interaction with these panel members. You get to know them in a moment, and then after that, they will get to know you. My name is Nelson Makanda. I am the chair of this panel. Feel free and just interact with us this morning. Vice Chair, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Lillian.
Good morning to you.
My name is Linda Kiome. I am the Vice Chairperson of this selection panel. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Lillian, habari ya asubuhi.
Nzuri.
Yeah, naitwa Andrew Tanui, mwanachama wa jopo la uteuzi, na karibu.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Manegene. My name is Caroline Kituko, a member of the panel.
Good morning, Madam. My name is Adam Solo, a member of the selection panel.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lillian. I'm here. My name is Nicodemus Bore, a member of the panel.
Okay.
My name is Fatuma Anderson, a member of the panel.
Good morning, Wakili and Karibu.
Thank you.
My name is 𝐋𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐚, and I'm a member of the selection panel.
Good morning, Lillian.
Good morning.
My name is Evans Misati. I'm a member of the selection panel.
So kindly briefly introduce yourself, telling us those things that you think we need to know, and highlighting if there are any special awards and recognition you have received, and eventually tell us why this job is yours.
Good morning, Chairperson and members of the panel. My name is Lillian Wanjiku Manegene. I was born and brought up in the slopes of Mount Kenya, particularly in 𝐋𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐚𝐧 County. I attended Kiranja Primary School and Kabare Girls High School, also in 𝐋𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐚𝐧 County. I passed my KCSE and was admitted to Nairobi University to study law. So in 1988, I made my maiden trip to Nairobi and joined the university. And while there, I learned that I have a very heavy accent from Mount Kenya. It was quite a culture shock, but I was able to quickly adjust and finished my 4 years of university. I joined the Kenya School of Law for my postgraduate diploma in law. I finished in 2003. I was then admitted to the bar in 2004, late 2004. I then started working as an associate advocate for the law firm of Onesmus Gedeji and Company Advocates. After serving that law firm for 2 years, the requisite 2 years, I started my own law firm under the name and style of Manegene and Partners Advocates. I have ran that law firm as a sole proprietorship until 2021, when I was joined by a partner who has now taken over the running of the law firm. I have moved on to become a consultant. I have served as a consultant as under the ELIZA program in USAID, where I was seconded to the Ministry of Health and the health sector. I now serve under Farm Access, also as a consultant in the health sector. And my main duties right now is to deliver a legal framework for quality of care in Kenya. In the course of my duties, all my life, I have, in 1997, after finishing Form 4, before I could vote, I participated in the electoral process through teaching my local voter education to the locals through a program by Nairobi University. In 2002 and 2007, I served as an election observer. In 2014, as an advocate in my professional capacity, I was instructed by the people of Makueni County to file suit against the county government and the county assembly because there was a dispute on revenue allocation between the two entities. That is the suit, that is the issue that was escalated to the president for suspension of the county, but we were able to sort it out amicably after directions from Senate. Again, in my interactions with the electoral process, in 2017, I served in the nomination process, party primaries, as the secretary to one of the national elections board for one of the political parties. We were able to conduct that very successfully, and only a few cases went on to the political parties tribunal. I have also given legal support to clients in the political parties tribunal and in the mainstream court for electoral petitions. In 2002, again, I gave legal support to several parties from making the women charter, and for one of the parties again, and then giving legal support in terms of training of agents and aspirants on the electoral process. I want to take some water.
Please do, feel free, Yeah, feel free, this is
So I have been involved in the electoral process, as I've stated, in several instances. I have also, in the course of my duties, been appointed as a member of the Dispute Resolution Committee for the National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I have served for 5 years. There have been 2 elections within Chamber, which we were able to handle the disputes, and in both instances, only about 3 proceeded to the mainstream court. So I have a lot of experience in dispute resolution. As I stated, I have transitioned to being a consultant, a legal consultant. My first consultant was with USAID, where I was involved in the legal framework, the new legal frameworks that were being done under the Ministry of Health, quite a number. I was also involved in development of policy. I was specifically involved in the development of the human resource for health policy, which is intended to ensure that there is an end to the many strikes among health workers. I have also been able to negotiate contracts between a contract between the USTDA, that is a grant agreement between USTDA and the National Quality Control Laboratory, the National Quality Control Laboratory is the body charged with ensuring that the health products and technologies that come to Kenya meet the standards as required by law. So the grant agreements is supposed to ensure that Kenya is able to construct an ultra-modern laboratory that will propel Kenya into attaining the maturity level 3 required under WHO, so that local manufacturers can be able to sell their drugs directly without requiring other certifications. I have additionally been involved in negotiations of contracts called mutual recognition contracts between regulators in Kenya on the health sector, where a person having a degree in Uganda for the East African community, where a person having a degree in medicine in Kenya can be able to be recognized in any of the East African countries. That would be that is very good for Kenya, because we have quite a number of health workers that require to move to the neighboring countries. I have also been able to negotiate again, or part of the people who negotiated the implementation letters between USAID and the Ministry of Health. That was supposed to ensure to give the backing for which USAID could give financial support to the ministry, which was for a budget of about 23 billion. So I was also supposed to have high-level reports between USAID, the USG, which is all the people representing the US government in Kenya, that is the director from USAID, USTDA, that is US Trade and Development Agency, the USCDC, as well as the mission for Kenya and East Africa. So in the course of, I've had quite a number of duties, and they were very high pressure. Sometimes I had to work throughout the weekend, throughout the night, just to be able to deliver, because the projects within the ministry that had to do with USAID were quite enormous. So I learned first of all, how to negotiate with donors to be able to get the best for Kenya, how to create legal framework. I realized all along, as a lawyer, I had been a consumer of the law. I had not had an experience where I was in the process of creation of that law. So I have had experience as a consultant in development of what we all know as the U4 UHC bills, the Social Health Insurance Act, the Digital Health Act, the Primary Health Act, and the Facility Financing Improvement Act and their regulations. So I have also, in the course of those duties, been able to conduct stakeholders forum and be involved in public participation. So I have gained a lot of experience in terms of my legal practice and my engagement as a consultant that would give me a good chance to be a candidate for this seat.
Wow, this is you have really worked and served in the health industry, and congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we are struggling with Shashi and all those other acts that Kenyans are trying to acclimatize themselves onto, and it's nice to meet the person who claims the authorship of some of those statutes. As you come into this, I'm wondering why you want to leave such a lucrative industry, healthcare, and you come into this very difficult, not so lucrative, if you like, industry of elections in Kenya.
Chairperson, I have had an interest in the electoral process from a very early age. And as much as I have served Kenya in the health sector, I would want to diversify and be able to give my best also to the electoral sector. And I believe I'm a person of very good integrity. I have very good leadership skills, because in most of these assignments, especially in the creation of the bills, I ended up being the chairperson, so that I was able to organize the people. I also ended up being the person conducting the stakeholders forum and also conducting the public participation of these bills. So I think it is time to move to another part of the government, or to be able to serve the people of Kenya in another capacity.
And in the creation of these bills, what was the role of Parliament in the drafting?
The Parliament, we drafted the bills, then presented to Parliament for them to be able to go on with the usual passing of the bill within Parliament, including that they also did public participation, although the ministry also did that, just to make sure there was wider reach of the people.
Thank you. I'll take you over to Madam Linda Kiome here to also ask you one or two questions, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Now, Lillian, why do you think the drafters of the IEBC Act required that the chairperson of the commission to be an advocate?
I think the reason the drafters required that is because there's a lot of legal issues that are involved that require interpretation in the normal course of operations. Also, upon creation by the Constitution, there was need to be a lot of follow-up laws to be able to give effect to the constitutional mandate. So I think it was important to have a lawyer to be able to run that process of ensuring that we get the follow-up acts of parliament, regulations that would be ensure that the intention of the constitutions are met.
Thank you, Lillian. Now, while I appreciate your wealth of experience in the legal profession, I know that you also have a wealth of experience outside this, in the strict sense, the legal profession.
Yes.
What skills have you acquired that you could use as a chairperson of this commission that will help you in your mandate as a chairperson, in your execution, in the execution of your mandate as a chairperson of the commission?
Thank you, Madam Leader. And through the chair, I have acquired quite a number of skills. One is that I have been a litigator for many years, so I would be able to handle the issues of that come up in litigation, in election petitions. You can be able to look through, although as the chair you may not be the one handling that, but you can be able to look through and see the kind of cases that have been filed against the commission. I have also acquired leadership skills, especially again while I was on consultancy, because then I was given a lot of duties that required me to take that mandate as the leader and ensure that projects are delivered within specific timelines. I'm also very good, and I like keeping records to be able to have follow-up. I think that is one of the things you learn in practice, that you need to be able to follow up from when the case started to the end. So I have been able to move on with that even in the consultancy stage, where I ensure we have very, very good records kept, that even if I exit from that zone, someone else is able to come and take it over and run with it. I have also been able to get quite some negotiating skills, especially in terms of having grant agreements between people within the health sector. I have learned how to negotiate. Sometimes you get into a room and it's so hard. The air is so hard that you have to find a way to be able to put the people together before they start fighting. And what I've learned is that what you need to do is crack a joke. The endorphins will come through. That is what I've learned because of staying with doctors for too long. But those endorphins, the feel-good situation comes in, and then people calm down, then you can start again the process of negotiations. I would also want to state that my name is Wanjiku. It embodies the new constitutional order and the democratic aspirations of the people of Kenya.
Which name is this? Wanjiku or Manegene?
Wanjiku.
Oh, okay. You are the Wanjiku that they talk about.
Yes, I am.
Nice to meet you finally.
Thank you, Wanjiku. Now, being the Wanjiku that you are, and being a leader with all that experience, in your career journey, have you had an experience whereby your leadership skills have been put to test through pressure and any other external influences, and you've really gone through a tough period as a leader and come out through? And would you share that kind of experience with this panel?
Yes, I have. As a lawyer, there are situations where you give legal advice and the person you're talking to does not want that kind of legal advice, but you have to stick to what the law provides. However, additionally, when I was conducting nominations for one of the political parties, the party primaries, there are situations where a person will come. I remember one specific situation. This lady came, removed all her clothes and demanded that we must give her the certificates. And I had to be able, being the only woman in that panel, I was told it is your work to deal with this person. And I had to deal with her, calm her down, explain to her what we have been able to do and what we can do just to confirm that the result is the one. And she calmed down. I gave her a lesson and we were able to sort that issue very fast.
Thank you, Lillian.
Yes.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
So did you give her the certificate?
No, she didn't get the certificate because she was not the best. She was not the best aspirant at that time. Okay. But we were able to calm her down and be able to explain why and the process that was used for us to arrive to that result.
Okay.
Yes.
So when we get into Bomas and a candidate pulls such on you, you will stand your ground.
I will stand my ground. Yes, I will. I do not see why, when the law is so clear, and I would want to protect, I would want us as Kenyans, all of us, to be able to have our ambitions and the spirit of the Constitution met as it is. So I do not see why we would be able to sit back and let the political class be able to influence my decision against the results that have been, against the voting and the results that has been done by the people of Kenya.
Thank you. I want to welcome Caro Kituku also to engage you briefly. Caro, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and good morning once more, Wanjiku.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes. So Article 38 of the Constitution provides the right to vote. And one of the measures in which the Constitution puts forward this right is to ensure there's secrecy in the ballot. Why do you think this is so? What is its importance in a democratic country?
I think the reason why we need to have secrecy is to ensure that there's no voter suppression. Because if you have been maybe threatened or there's undue influence and it's not through secret ballot, then that person is not able to vote. They would prefer to keep away from the ballot. Yes.
In your experience, I am hearing you saying that you've participated in one way or another in the electoral system and through the electoral processes. So what do you think are the lapses within the Kenyan electoral laws and systems and practice that threatens the right to vote through the secret ballot?
In terms of the law and regulations, perhaps the problem is not in the law. I think the problem is the space that we have in the polling stations as they are set, so that where that's a box that you're given to vote, and with the presence of the agents and the clerks from the IEBC, there isn't enough for that ballot to actually be secret. Everyone is looking in. So we need maybe to consider having more polling stations to enable so that there's more space. Like the polling station where I vote, there's so many people that even getting in, I remember my mom has been handicapped for a very long time. Getting her in a wheelchair and moving the people just to give her space is so hard. So my point is that the polling stations themselves do not have adequate space that would allow the privacy or the secrecy in the
So
vote.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And my concern mostly is that not on accessibility, you've been given access. In fact, the law regulates how many numbers should exist per polling station. And I think the intention to that was very clear, so that to ensure that there's no many people in one polling station that may hinder the processes. So my concern is on the secret balloting. You are there, you have access, you're supposed to vote. So what are some of these instances that exist or that could threaten your right to exercise a secret voting by way of secret ballot?
From my understanding of secret ballot, it means that you have given your papers and you stand somewhere alone and you vote. The law allows for that. So I think there is no major issue, or legally from my perspective, that would hinder that kind of secret ballot.
And is it always the case that the secret ballot is always the secret ballot?
Yeah,
practically
especially
outside the legal framework?
It is, like I said, for me, it is the spacing that is there, and the fact that sometimes you have the agent surrounding the person. So that space that you have to be able to vote as that secret ballot is not adequate. But in terms of the law, I think the law is very clear. It is supposed to be a secret ballot. However, you also note in terms of polling station and the 700 people provided, you find one room has several polling stations within, and that's what causes the crowding. So it would be important to be able to study the amount of number of people or the number of polling stations that can be within a specific region. Yeah.
Is there any instances when, in the voting process, when you're exercising your right to vote by secret ballot, there is a breach of that secrecy?
From my experience, maybe because I'm a lawyer and when I walk in somewhere, no one will try to be able to interfere with that. But from my experience, especially when I was doing the Observer, you find that there are a lot of people who want to come and ensure who you are voting for. Yeah, so that would interfere with the secret ballots.
So there is always this category of voters that many a times could be assisted.
Yes.
The assisted voters.
Yes.
Do you think that that process of having, the recognition of them being assisted voters, their secrecy, their right to secrecy ballot is breached? And if so, how?
Okay. Yes, that's their right to having a secret ballot is actually affected, because I had an experience where I actually raised a complaint because the person who was assisting this person was an agent of a certain party rather than the IEBC agents or a person they have worked in with. So yes, there are instances where you find the law does not adequately cover, so that if it is a person with a disability, like you have a disability, like what did I say? You cannot walk. You can be able to make that decision yourself. You don't need the assistant voter to be an assisted voter. All you need is to be assisted to get to that booth. But where you find that there are people who cannot see, who cannot hear, then you find that their right will be interfered with, depending on the person they have chosen to assist them.
You speak about the influence the agents at the polling station could have on the secret balloting process. Would you please explain to us how the political party agents that are in the polling station can, or many times, influence the secret ballot process?
Well, from experience, again, what you have seen is a lot of people, because of voter bribery, which we are aware about, will be told that when you get there, you will say you cannot, you need someone to assist, and they will probably have the agents so that they can confirm whether you voted for their candidate, and then you can get whatever retro money had been promised. And that is where the interference comes in. So it's important, very important for the electoral officials to be able to make a determination whether a person actually should be an assisted voter. Yes.
We have also seen Kenyans and some Kenyans who go to vote, and at the end of the vote, they take a photo of their vote, share it outside with people, in the social media spaces, in, various technological and those spaces that they could share. What do you think is the ethical issues about that?
First of all, the law says that you cannot carry the physical ballot. There's nothing that talks about what you take on your phone. There's no law. Maybe we need to look at amending that to ensure that that is also covered. However, the ethical issues is that you are able, it is like you are interfering with the system by putting my vote there. I'm also influencing the other people who have not yet gone to the polling station. It's actually a form of campaigns which are within the election day. So
So we have seen some of the issues through this conversation that threaten or compromise the secrecy of the ballot. So what measures then, if you become successful to be the chairperson of the IEBC, you could put in place to ensure that such incidences do not happen, or to ensure that the secrecy of the ballot is protected? What safeguards do you propose can be put in place?
If I became chair, then I would ensure that the law is followed strictly to allow the IEBC officials within polling station should not allow agents to be the persons as assisting voters to vote or being close to the ballot when the other people are voting, because their work is not that of assisting. An assisted, when you require assistance, it either has to be an IEBC person or a person that is well known to you. Secondly, I would be looking to, and like I said, there's a lot of congestion in the polling station. There's a lot of congestion, which makes it, first of all, impossible for the assisted voters, especially those people living with disabilities, to be able to vote. And it is within that congestion that you find the interference, because you find the IEBC official is already overwhelmed. They cannot deal with the number of voters, the number of agents who are already in that room. So while handling another part of the room, then you find now the agents taking advantage and interfering with the secret ballot.
Thank you for that. So let's move outside of Kenya a little bit. Do you know of any countries that have or enforces mandatory voting, that everybody who ought to vote must vote?
I'm not aware of any, but although the US is said to do it, I'm not aware of their law that provides for that. Yeah.
So there are countries that do that, that enforce mandatory voting, that if you are a registered voter, you must vote. And if you don't vote, there are penalties that attach. One of those countries could be Australia, Belgium, Brazil, they're there. So what is your take if this was to be adopted in Kenya, if we are to ensure there is the mandatory voting for every registered voter in Kenya, given the concern that has always been, arises every time on the low voter turnout?
Kenya is a very democratic country. Sorry, through the chair, Kenya is a very democratic country, and it is important to enforce that democracy. For me, choosing not to vote, you could have two candidates who you don't wish to support either. You see, some of these developed countries have only specific about two of the parties running. Here in Kenya, we have so many candidates. You may decide you don't want to vote for any of them, and I think you should retain the right to be able to decide whether to go vote. You can also decide to just go vote for the governor and not the other candidates. I think our democratic space should be as is.
Thank you so much, Ms. Manegene. I wish you well, Wanjiko.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Allow me to ask Ambassador Dr. Koki Muli to also ask you some questions. Koki, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. Advocate Manegene, I would like to engage you a little bit further on a number of issues that have been raised by the Supreme Court. You recall, for example, since 2013, we have had serious challenges to election results, especially results for the presidential elections in 2013, 2017.
Yes.
In fact, in 2017, we had even a nullification of the election of the president and a repeat election. We also had a challenge on the validity of the election of the president in 2022 as well. My question regards one of the key or perennial issues that have been identified as a problem in Kenya's election, and that is the IEBC election results management framework. I would like to start by asking you to tell this selection panel and Kenyans who are watching you if you are aware of the IEBC election results management framework, what it is, and what it is used for.
What I'm aware about is the digital system that allows transmission of results from polling stations to the national tallying station. That is, I don't know whether that is what you are referring to.
Yes, that is part of it. Actually, it's an entire framework that helps the IEBC count the election results, tabulate those election results, transmit those election results, collate, tally, and announce, and it even features the declaration of the election results. But we know that different results are declared in different places. Would I be right to say that?
Yes, it is true. But
can you elaborate a little bit?
Okay. We have counting of results at the polling station. Then they are transmitted to the constituency tallying station, again where there is the tallying takes place, and then to the county tallying station. The presidential results is transmitted directly from the polling stations to the national tallying station through the electronic system.
Thank you very much, Wakili. Where is the election of the president concluded?
At the national tallying station.
Thank you very much. What are some of the major critical aspects of this results management in the framework that we have spoken about? You have already mentioned one, the transmission of results through technology.
Yes.
What are the other aspects of it?
Maybe I don't understand your question. Could rephrase it kindly?
Elections are conducted at the polling station, where you have said that the transmission of results from that place, polling station, to the national tallying center is done through use of technology as one of the aspects of this framework that we are discussing.
Yes.
There are other aspects of it with regard to the results from the polling station. Those are the aspects I'm asking.
Okay, the hard copies of the forms are also then brought to physically to the national tallying station, and that is you now have to confirm between what came through the system and what is in the hard copies of the forms.
Thank you very much. And that is with regard to which election?
The
Since
national,
there are
the
six.
one for the president.
And what happens to the other 5?
The other 5 are retained at the county tallying station, and where they are required to, where there is any petitions that have been filed, then they are handled from that center at the county tallying station.
Thank you very much, Wakili. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Koki. I would like to ask Tanui, FCPA, to also ask some questions.
Thank you, Chair. And Wanjiku, karibu tena.
Thank you.
I want to follow up with a question by our Vice Chair on why is a chairperson of IEBC an advocate or has to be a lawyer? And you did mention that it's because elections is about. You can say that again. What did you say?
I said there's a lot of legal issues that it is the electoral process, first of all, is a legal process. It has a lot of legal guidelines, the law that guides it. So there's requirement for someone who can be able to interpret and work with the law. So that is the reason that the makers of the Constitution thought it was best to have the person as a lawyer.
If I say that elections is also about numbers, it's about counting, and we only declare the winner of a presidential election, it is not determined by law, but it is by votes cast, and those votes have to be counted. What would you say?
Well, the chairperson plus the commission guide the elections also at county, constituency, and ward level. They were able to sit as a commission and be able to give guidance. So the whole electoral system is owned by the commission, and the people who take over at the county levels have instructions also coming, and where they need to interpret how that should be done, how to interpret the law, then it is the duty of the commission and the hand of the commission to give guidance on the legal issues.
I agree, but I'm also saying that elections is about numbers. And if I go ahead and say that even the chair of the commission should be somebody knowledgeable with numbers, and I take this with regard to the 2022 general elections. One of the contestations that was there was about the numbers, about the votes cast, the totality. You remember the mathematical error by the vice chair. And therefore, if we hypothesize that even a chair of a commission should either have both legal and accounting or somebody good in numbers, what would be your comment?
My comment on that, actually, I agree with you. It is mathematics. It's 1 + 1 = 2. It is not about, at the point where you are you're doing the tallying, it is about mathematics. It is easy as that. And that is not the whole business of how elections are concerned. That is just a small part where you tally the results and give the final tally. So, but the other processes, all the way from the Constitution, the Elections Act, the IEBC Act, that is a legal process with legal timelines that are supposed to be there. However, I do agree with you that the part of doing the mathematics, it is important for IEBC to have experts who can be able to do that tallying and then explain it to the commission. And maybe parts of the commission members should have that kind of experience.
So what is your understanding of the role of the chairperson of IEBC? Is it about the legal interpretation of presiding over the management of the electoral management body?
That is the role of the IEBC chair, but I've said that process itself, which he's presiding over, has a lot of legal implication and legal documents that are required to be able to carry the process in a credible manner. So that is why you find that that discussion through stakeholders forum resulted in the constitution requiring that a lawyer be the head of IEBC.
Actually, I think it is the act, not the constitution. I don't think the constitution.
Both of them give the qualifications.
Even the constitution says the chair of IEBC should be a lawyer. In the constitution.
No, I'm not very sure, but it's there. Yeah.
Now, if I say that one of the reasons why we've had conflicts at IEBC, more so between the chair and the secretariat, in this case, the secretary to the commission, is because both of them have been lawyers. If you look at the case of Isaac Hassan and Oswako, they were both lawyers and they end up separating. The second one was Chepukati, may his soul rest in peace, and Ezra Chilop. And they also parted ways along the way. At least there is some semblance of peace now, because it was Chepukati and Marjan, who is a non-lawyer. I'm looking at it in the sense that these are people, everybody interpret the law the way they want. And at some point, they have different opinions. And that is why the previous two CEOs and the chairs have not agreed and had to separate. What would you say of my hypothesis?
I would say the main issues were personalities. It's not because of their profession. However, like you've said, there's no requirement that the CEO must be a lawyer. Maybe that is where we need to make the distinction. If the issue of having two professionals, two people in the same profession seems to be the problem, which I disagree, because I think those were two personalities who chose to have personal issues at interfering with the functions of the IEBC. But if that is the case, then we would have to consider having the CEO not having qualifications as a lawyer. But I still insist that stakeholders forums were carried out and the public was involved, and it was determined by a panel that the best person to lead IEBC would require to have qualifications of a lawyer. So maybe then would have, if that seems to be the problem, then would have then to go through the entire process again of involving the public, the stakeholders, to determine whether now we need to remove those qualifications.
Lastly, you told us you are the managing partner, or you are the sole proprietor of Manegene.
Yes.
And what is the senior most position that you've held in the corporate world? The largest number of people that you've managed in your working career?
While managing the issues of under USAID, it was thousands, because there were so many projects that were happening, which I was the link between the ministry and USAID. So I had to deal with so many of the workers, and within that space, I was not the employer, but there are so many people who are under USAID that needed to report. I needed to report on their projects.
Now,
Yes, were these people reporting to you? How many people were?
The heads of the projects were the ones I had dealings with, but also I had to deal with their juniors in terms of the implementation of the projects under USAID. And while in the health sector, I also had dealt with other donors, not just USAID, the CDC, the USTDA, WHO. And the issue is there are so many things that are happening there that it's at one point you are dealing with a group of 100 for dealing with family health. The next thing you are dealing with another group of 1,000 who are dealing with primary health care. So it was quite a number of people in thousands.
Now, your IEBC is a big institution.
Yes, it is.
You'll be having some 6 commissioners whom you'll be working with. There will be a CEO. There will be 9 directors at the commission. And there are over 24 managers in IEBC. We are having 47 county returning officers. We are having over 290 sub-county, and there will be many stakeholders that you'll be managing during the election process.
Yes.
So how is the experience that you've had help you transition to this huge institution known as IEBC?
Thank you. And through the chair, like I've said, I handled a high pressure job while I was a consultant under USAID. And it was just to see, IEBC deals with one subject. This one, it was different subjects. Today you are on this one, tomorrow you are on the next one. And all of them, I had to find a way to be able to collect all that information and be able to report on it. So for IEBC, I think the numbers are manageable. And what you need is to have teamwork and to work with the other commissioners to ensure that you have different people handling different situations, so that the whole job does not rest with the IEBC chairperson. It should be teamwork between all the people. I pride myself in being very good at training and giving capacity building, especially to the younger generation, to ensure that you are able to delegate as much of the work to them. Or, of course, making sure that you are able to ensure that the quality is the best.
Wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Now ask my colleague Evans Misati to ask you some questions.
Thanks so much, Chair. The Wanjiko. You have said now the Wanjiko is going to be the chair. Now, assume you are the chair of the IPC and we are given this opportunity to serve as the chair. As the chair, you will be responsible for providing strategic leadership and policy direction to enhance the performance of the commission as your key role. Based from what you have described here, what will be your key principles and strategies to ensure that you guide the commission in the right direction, particularly giving the vision and the tone that you will start with?
I would endeavor to ensure that IEBC is the most credible management, electoral management body that will be able to protect the democratic aspiration of the people of Kenya. And how would I do that? I have said I am very keen on teamwork. I would ensure that we are able to work together with the other commissioners and the secretariat to ensure that there is a proper policies are set. I have had a lot of experience in the making of policies, so I would then transition that knowledge into ensuring that we have good policies that are able to guide the secretariat on how to provide their services. And in terms of leadership, like I said, I have very good leadership skills. I find myself, when I was younger, every time I walked into a meeting, I would always be the secretary. You're the one taking notes, you're the one guiding this information, you're the one doing the follow-up meetings. But recently, I think because of age, I have transitioned to always being the chair. So you put the team together, you have to ensure that the timelines that you have, you are able to meet them, you identify what each person is able to do their best in their best capacity, and then setting timelines, giving guidance, so that now as a team you are able to give the best for Wanjiko.
What challenges, Wanjiko, do you foresee as the chair from where you sit, what are the challenges that you can foresee in that position of the chair of IEBC?
Thank you. And through the chair, I really can't see your name, so I apologize for not referring to you by name. But one of the biggest challenges we have is that commissioners run away from Kenyans at their time of need. That is what we have been experiencing as the people of Kenya. So that is likely to be a challenge even in the next general election. So as a legal practitioner, I would ensure that there are legal provisions or the law is amended to ensure that there are very stringent penalties for any commissioners who has gone through this interview process, being appointed, and then decides, I'm going to take my salary up to 2026 or just before the results are read, then I'm running away. So I would ensure that we have a law where if a commissioner does not agree with the process, there's a process through which they can seek to leave by ensuring that they write down why they're in disagreement, just like the Supreme Court does. There's always the dissenting parties in the Supreme Court. So that is what I would suggest in addition to the law, that if at the time where, because the presidential elections are the ones that are usually so disputed, at the time when that arises, then every commissioner should write down their reason for dissenting, and they should read it to the public before the results are presented. The other challenge has always been the digital system. While in the process of preparing the Digital Health Act and regulations, I learned just a few issues about what a digital system should have. It should be able to authenticate, it should be able to authorize and account. Authenticate meaning any person getting access to this system should be able to be given, the system should be able to authenticate who they are. Then authorize that person to specific parts of the system, and then account for every person who has been able to get in and out of this system. That is why now when cases go to the Supreme Court, then they are able to get into this system. Please note, I'm not an expert in ICT, get into this system and see through the accounts made there too, who has had access, what they have done in that system, and any unauthorized access to the system. But I also believe, and one of the issues I would want to propose is that IEBC, as an arbiter, and a Constitution Commission, should not be a respondent in petitions. Because the minute you make IEBC a respondent, what happens is they work together with the winning party to be able to win the case, because all of us are participants. We have all been sued. But if you make the IEBC more like a friend of the court, not in that manner, but in the manner that they are required within specific timelines, when there is a petition filed in Kiambu, then IEBC is required to provide the evidence and the information without being a party to that suit. Then you give a chance for the court to get all that information and be able to give a judgment that corresponds with the needs of that particular petition.
Let me just ask that. So who will be the respondent? I have failed in an election, and it's IEBC that has declared me as a second runners-up. So who do I take to court?
I would put the person as the respondent. For me would be the other part, the winning party, and you are challenging that win. So that IEBC, because you have challenged that this certificate should not have been given to Lillian, it should have been given to me because I won. So you put through the evidence, this person is has a right to respond. Then IEBC on the other part provides all the information, everything, without being able to collude and start not bringing some of the forms required by the court, so that now the court becomes more like an arbiter. We have conducted a free and fair election. That is what we want the people to know. And we are willing to give the court all the information, all the paperwork that we have used. We have used to tally this and to count and tally, so that the court then can make an informed decision. So the orders will be this person, the final orders that you are seeking for is that this person, the respondent, should not have been given the certificate. But within that system, IEBC should provide information to court. Specific timelines and also attract very steep penalties.
So as a follow-up question to what you have said,
yes,
to demonstrate that you have the understanding of what we need to do as a country before the 2027 general election, please, can you try to give us an overview of, if you will get favor in with this panel and you are put as the chair of the IEBC, what will be your priority things in terms of preparation before the 2027 general elections?
I would have a number of priorities. So what I would do is have several teams working on these priorities at the same time. One of them is we are already very late in terms of voter registration. We have lost almost 2 years. So we have about 3 years of young boys and girls who have qualified and have not been registered. So it is important to have to start immediately. And I would suggest, of course, to my team that we start with massive voter registration, without not the usual one, but we have we call for the massive voter registration for the people of Kenya. Of course, I would also be looking to ensure that that is also together with educating the voter as to why they need to register, how to register, and their civic duty to vote. Those two would be working hand in hand. I would also be looking at the budget required for the 2027 general election, because there has been no commission. And so, whereas we are aware that the secretariat may have presented a budget, it is important for the commission also to go through that budget and confirm whether it corresponds to what is required, what has been budgeted for, and whether it is adequate or maybe above what is required. The other issue that is running through our minds is the border issue. We know we are already out of time. That should have been done last year. We need to be able to cool down our people and be able to have a conversation as stakeholders, as the commissioners, as the secretariat, as the people of Kenya, to ensure or to have a way forward on how to handle the issue of border delineation, while also considering that the timelines between now and the 2027 general election. Then there's the digital system. Again, this has been an issue over and over again. It is important to start. It's to be able to get it in good time. Procurement, I would ensure that whole process of procurement within IEBC is very, very open. I mean, you can tell people we are now looking for the system. Communication in Kenya is very easy. You can reach our young people through social media, the elderly through the TV. My mother watches, throughout the day. So, and there are those, of course, who still buy newspapers. So, what I would ensure is that there is very constant communication with the people of Kenya on the procurement processes within IEBC.
Thanks so much. I wish you well. Looking forward to our 𝐋𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐵C chairman.
Thank you.
Well, Ms. Fatuma Saman, would you like to ask some questions to 𝐶𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐵C?
Yes, thank you, Chair. 𝐶𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐵C, welcome.
Thank you, Fatuma.
Political parties are key players in the electoral processes in any democracy. Would you please tell the panel the role of the political parties as key stakeholders of the IEBC?
Ms. Fatuma, I would want to start, but we start here with this panel. the political parties are represented. So they are part of the people who are able to determine the new IEBC. And so they are participating by ensuring that we have a continuity by appointment of the IEBC. Political parties also are key stakeholders in the electoral process because it is through them that you get candidates for the general elections. So their views should be at the forefront of their engagement should be at the forefront with the IEBC in terms of deciding even the timelines, how voter education is going to be done. They should be consulted. Also, in terms of voter registration, it is important also to involve the political parties and keep them informed of the processes that are going on within IEBC. Again, very key, especially of the digital system, the ballot boxes and the ballot papers. It is important to have continuous engagement between IEBC and political parties.
As the chair of the IEBC, what strategies would you put in place to ensure continuous constructive engagement with the political parties without necessarily compromising the independence of the commission?
I am aware of the existence of a political party liaison committee, which is supposed to have engagement with the IEBC. So for me, I like order. So I would ensure that there is continuous, and if there are set dates within maybe monthly, quarterly, where we have meetings between the IEBC and the political parties. However, I am a strict follower of the rule of law. I believe that the law should be followed to the letter. So, and it is very clear that political parties have no influence on the activities of IEBC. Being a creature of the Constitution, it is important that IEBC is respected by all political parties and all political players to be able to deliver a free and fair and credible and transparent general election for the people of Kenya.
Any particular strategy?
The strategy for me would be to have the engagements, structured engagements, so that the issues that every political party wants to bring are discussed in an open room. Then I would also, like I said, ensure there's constant communication of the affairs of the IEBC, where IEBC will be able to tell political parties, this is where we are in terms of preparations. This is where we are in terms of any procurement that will affect the general elections. This is where we are in terms of voter registration and voter education. So the strategy is to ensure that you give communication to the political parties, there are structured engagements, and where the political parties cross the boundary, you should be able to tell them, this is what the law says.
Thank you, Wanjiku, and wish you well.
Thank you.
Next to come is Nicodemus Bore. He will ask you some few questions on leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and Wanjiku.
Thank
We
you, Mr. Bore.
are recruiting 7 members of IEBC Commission.
Yes.
You have applied to be the chair of that commission.
Yes.
The people we are bringing on board are of different diversity and I mean diverse skills, experiences, backgrounds, and so forth. In the previous 2 cycles of elections, we've had what we call boardroom wrangles among the commissioners. Can you tell this panel what strategies you will have to make sure that the team that is picked will work cohesively to serve the people of Kenya diligently and with a lot of integrity, and will not experience what we have had the last 2 cycles?
Mr. Bore, and through the chair, as I had already stated, there is need to strengthen the laws in terms of how the IEBC commissioners can act. At the boardroom level, it is an issue of having capacity building and teamwork, and ensuring there is teamwork between the parties. And that can be done through continuous engagement, open communication, and open communication between the parties. And there should, I think we need to amend the law, the IEBC Act, to be specific, to give guidelines on how affairs within the commission, the 7 commissioners, including the chairman, should be guided, so that if there is a dispute, how is it recorded? For example, does the chair have the absolute right to declare the presidency when the other 6 commissioners are saying that is not the proper trading? We need to have the law looked into and probably amended to actually the law provides that for you to make a decision, it should be more than half, that is 4 out of 7. But in terms of presidential results, it is said that there seems to be a contradiction in that law, because why is the decision then being made by one person as against the other 6? So those affairs need to be relooked into through stakeholders engagement. I would actually look into forming a multi-agency team to look into how to ensure there's no quabbles within the commission. I would actually be looking to adopt what is there at the Supreme Court. You have an issue, let's discuss it, and if we can't agree, let's put it down. This is my opinion. This is why I don't agree with the results that were presented. This is why I don't agree that even the results presented in other situations, the elections were not free and fair. But unfortunately, there is no procedure that can be able to cover that.
So, Madam, you are saying that you would have to change the laws so that people can work together?
With the experience that we have had. I've said in the boardroom affairs, it is clear that if we are making a decision, it's 4 out of 7. It is the majority. That wins. If we are going to obtain the oversight on the procurement process, and we are saying we are not going to take that company, and 4 out of 7 have agreed, that is how we are going to go. That is what the law allows. But the issue that has not been sorted out is in terms of declaration of results. And that's where you find IEBC commissioners disappearing on the people of Kenya at their time of need. So we come through this system. We have offered our services to the people of Kenya, but on the day that they need us most, then you disappear. So that is what needs to be guided by the law. Can you be able to just walk out? If you need to walk out, what should be the process to be able to do that? If there's a disagreement, and that is on the issue of the results, and they really cannot agree, there should be a law that provides for how to handle that. Otherwise, it will be just the usual boardroom wrangles on a very important issue that affects the whole of Kenya.
So you don't think it's about the leadership skills of the chair?
I think also in terms of, that's why I said in terms of the boardroom affairs, there are already provisions. Of course, you require to have a chair who is able to deal with everyone, who is able to gel, who is able to give very good leadership skills and follow the Constitution and the Leadership and Integrity Act. That person is the one who brings the glue to the group. But like in the general elections, there's a lot of political party interference or political interference at that point. That's why it is very important to have the law being the one providing for what should be done in that kind of circumstance. Yes.
Now, there was a case that involved Lilian Wanjiku-Manegene, which I believe is you.
Yes.
Versus Kimunge Limited.
Yes.
On a bounce check.
Yes.
That you provided.
Yeah.
Can you please tell this honorable panel how that case went and whether it was resolved thereafter?
That involved a business that we were doing with a friend, and we were unable to agree at the point where we were not able to make a lot of money. We were not able to make money from it, so the person demanded that they needed their capital back. So, of course, we had a disagreement on how that was to be handled. I had the checks were supposed to give authority or to give this person the comfort that we will be able to do this business and be able to get our money back. But at the point where now the person decides to pull out and we did not agree, then I believe in the justice system. So that matter was forwarded to the court for it to be decided by the court, and the decision was done, and I followed what the court guided.
What did the court guide?
The court guided that I was to refund the money that the person had put into the business. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
So you issued a dishonored check.
Like I said, the issue was not the dishonored check. The check was not supposed to have been used for that purpose, because at that time we already had a disagreement on how to handle the business as it was. So the best possible way was I had given this check as for this person to have comfort about the business that we were getting into. So when we had a disagreement, without my knowledge, that check was deposited. So of course, at the time it was deposited, if you don't have money, it will definitely be dishonored. There was no money in the account, but we still didn't agree on the system of refunding, because if we are getting into a business, we all know the risks that are involved. So the matter was referred to the justice system. It was ordered that I should refund that money, which I have done according to the court's judgments.
And there were no other safeguards you could provide as an advocate of the High Court to your partner other than a guarantee of a check?
That was the agreement that was there. And this had nothing to do with the legal process. It was a business that we are doing off the legal business.
So you agreed to guarantee by placing a check?
Yes, because it's me who had started the business earlier. So we want someone to put in some money. We've agreed you put, but that is the guarantee I put. But at the time they chose to have that deposited, I was not aware of it. But it was still disputed as to whether I disputed the fact that it is our business. If it's not doing well, then we should do it until such time when it is doing well for us to get our funds. But I believe in the process of the court. We went to the court made a determination, which I agreed with.
So provision of a check was a dishonest approach to this business?
It was by agreement of parties.
Yeah, but there was no money in the bank.
You see, that was supposed to be like I would give you my title and tell you, in the event that I'm not able we are not able to succeed, then you can come back you can come back and use that title as a security or logbook. So, but at the time we get to that point, then there's a process through which you do that. So there was no specific dating on that check that it would be paid on that specific date. It was supposed to be security. In the event this business goes like this and you feel that you want to pull out, then you would inform me, and then I would ensure there are funds available. But I disagreed as to the point where we were saying that it is our business and it wasn't doing so well. So we resorted into the court process.
And the court found you to be on the wrong?
Yes.
Okay, Prof.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anjiko. I would just...
And just to, Chair, just to state that that was through a civil process.
Yes, I know it's civil.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Anjiko, I would just like to follow from where Bore and the Chair have left, because you know the country is looking for a chair who has the highest form of integrity. A candidate told us here that you should be like 𝐻𝐧𝐣𝐢𝐤𝐮, unblemished. The chair has asked you successive questions on this check. I want to follow up. Did it have a date? Did it have an amount? Those two.
It had an amount, but it didn't have a date.
It didn't have a date.
Yes.
So it is Kimungi who put the date.
Yes, at the time it was taken to the bank. Yes.
Was that the agreement? What was the agreement?
The argument was we are a dispute as to whether at that specific time, then I should be able to refer the money. But then rather than us coming to a conclusion on it, took the check that was there as security and chose to deposit it.
Just make me understand, why would, let's assume I'm Kimungi, I'm in an agreement with you, and we have agreed that in case of anything, A, B, and C, why would I have to hold the check without a date? Why would it be that at the time that we need to sort it out, you would then issue me the check unless you are going to be out of the country? Just make me understand. It's just,
Like
I just want to see the logic.
It's more like you would give a logbook to
Yes.
someone
Yes.
with as security.
Yes.
We are doing this together. If in the event that there are issues that happen, then I'll be able to use that logbook to be able to claim back my money. So at the time when you decide now, this person, we are not able to do this business together, then that person, the best that would have happened is rather than have that check deposited, is come back to me, or we come to a compromise where we say, I am not going to be a member of this business, give me back the money that I put in. And actually, if you look at it, it wasn't just the amount that was in the check. It was more than that. I had already given back some of it because at that time the business was making,
Very well, very well. I've heard you.
Yes. So it was not through a dishonest system on my part to be able to do that. It is that it was done without my knowledge, first of all. Because if you deposit a check and I don't know about it, I would expect you to tell me you are depositing so that I also ensure if it's moving money from another account to that one, or it's moving money from wherever, then it is there and it doesn't become dishonored. But for me, I feel that that should have been handled in a better way.
Was there a written agreement to that effect?
No.
Yeah,
it was a gentleman's agreement.
That's why I was telling you, let's leave it, because the more you go, then the more I interrogate, because the way you're explaining it, if there was a written agreement, then we would say that he breached that agreement. But you are saying that there was no agreement written to that effect. So let's leave it to rest there.
Yeah.
You told us you are the proverbial Wanjiku. You have the name Wanjiku.
Yes.
That every time the country talks of Wanjiku, of the Constitution, it's that, I know you know that it's that grassroots person. That's how Wanjiku was used. Yes. That local citizen down somewhere in Mandera, down somewhere in Turkana, down somewhere in Lamu, deep in the hinterlands of Kitui. That's the Wanjiku. This Wanjiku Manekene, if she's made chair, she's a lawyer, she's already done a lot of management on health issues, she's a big-time consultant. If she's made chair, demonstrate to her as how, other than just having the name Wanjiku, she would be the embodiment of the aspirations of the ordinary Kenyan that is usually referred to as Wanjiku.
Okay, as I had stated in my intro, I have done a lot of issues from the civic part of it. I have, when that name was coined, I was by President Moi during the making of the Constitution. I was actually a student and I was not happy with the use of my name in that capacity. And I was very happy when the cartoonists were able to switch the narrative to say that it is the Wajiko's Constitution. So Wajiko, I am Wajiko by virtue of being a Kenyan. I am very easy to interact. I find it very easy to interact with Wajiko on the ground, to the extent that I will leave this room, wear a pair of jeans, and you'll find me interacting and talking to Wajiko on the ground. So I believe, while I may have gone on to get an education and get involved in other issues, my democratic aspiration as a Kenyan still lie within that space of Wanjiku. So I have, like I've said, been involved in a lot of stakeholders engagement and public participation. So I would ensure that Wanjiku, Halima, Chelono, all of them are involved in this process. And I would ensure that there's transparency in the process of, in the processes of IEBC to ensure to, and then I would also ensure that Wanjiku is kept in the communication with Ajiko is very transparent so that they are able to know what is happening in IEBC. We want to do mass voter registration. We are doing it between this day. Then you ensure that it's all over the social media, that the information is communicated to Ajiko in the language that they understand. And having been that to Ajiko at some point, then I'm able to associate and know what the needs of Wanjiku would be.
Thank you very much. Yes. The last question from me, again, touches on integrity. What are the core values that guide your decisions when faced with morally gray areas in professional life?
Sorry, Mike.
What are the core values that guide your decisions when faced with morally gray areas in your professional life?
Okay, my core values stem with, first of all, I believe in the rule of the law. I would be able, where there are gray areas, then I would look to ensure that the decisions made speak to the intended or the intention of the law. I would ensure that I have, I'm able to have transparency in my dealings so that people are able to understand where I am coming from. And the issue of effectiveness and efficiency in the running of the business or affairs of the IEBC. Also, I have, like I've said again, my leadership skills have been very good. I'm able to organize people, organize assignments to be able to ensure that we get the results that are required. And working with USAID actually taught me a lot of issues in terms of timelines, delivery within specific times. You are paid for what you have delivered. You're not paid just for because specific times. You are paid for what you have delivered. You're not paid just for because you're supposed to have been at work that day. You must be able to prove it. Actually, it's paid per hour. You must be able to account for each hour of what you have been doing. So I bring a system that is, I'm able to work under pressure, sometimes working during weekends and long working hours just to be able to deliver what is required of me.
Thank you, Chair.
Before you come back with some two short questions, I'd like to ask Madam Koki to do a follow-up, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Wakili, there are two statements that you made that have made me to come back to clarify. The first statement was that commissioners, like judges of the Supreme Court, can write dissenting opinions on what they saw in reference to what happened in Bomas. I want to seek clarification, and perhaps for Kenyans and members of the panel here, that in an election, let's take, for example, the presidential elections that made the Cherera 4 to leave Bomas and to dissent, was because of they disputed the results that were announced. The law is very clear that a presidential candidate wins when they garner 50 plus 1% and 25% in 24 of the votes cast in 24 counties. Now I'm just imagining a scenario of the kind of dissenting opinion that you are saying that they can write. in that regard, if the chair is on his or her own, and there are 3 commissioners on this side saying that the presidential candidate has won according to the constitution and the law, and the 3 commissioners are saying the presidential candidate has not won. What are you saying? That the 3 can say to Kenyans that they disagree, and the others can say they agree? Then what is left for Kenyans? Please just explain that. Then I'll ask the follow-up for the second one.
What I'm saying is that I would propose amendments to the law that allows the dissenting. We may not use dissenting as is used in the Supreme Court, but I have a reason why I am leaving Bomas. I'm running away. And that is what caused disunity within Kenyans, because they don't know why. It is not somewhere. It is, I would be proposing that it is put in writing. Why have I left? Why do I want? Why don't I agree with this process? So that all this information then, when you go to the Supreme Court, it's presented there for the court to make a decision. Also, to build confidence of IEBC within Kenya. Because when we have a commission of 7 people, and 6 of them decide to abandon, it is not what is there under the law. It is what is created or what the people of Kenya see about the IEBC. So how do we make it easier for the people of Kenya to be able to understand what is happening? You have seen the Supreme Court is able to calm Kenya when it goes there, because there are already systems that have been set on how to handle even where judges disagree on a judgment. So those are the kind of proposals I would be making. They may not mirror exactly what is there at the Supreme Court, but there needs to be a system through which commissioners don't walk away. They have a system through which they can communicate to Kenya that this is why we are saying we are on this side. And before the results are released, then they should be given that opportunity to talk to Kenya. That will create unity within the people of Kenya.
Wouldn't that affect the legitimacy and the credibility of the result and leave Kenyans without a result?
I don't think that would affect the legitimacy, because it's the same way we have a dissenting judge. That does not interfere with the legitimacy of the judgment they make, that is made by the majority. What I'm saying is the reason we have so many political wrangles and crashes within Kenya is because people do not trust that the system that was used. So, because I, as a commissioner, just disappeared from this system. I did not tell Kenyans. That communication is very integral to the people of Kenya, to tell them these are the results. And then we still have another arbiter, who is the Supreme Court, who will be able to look through all these statements that are made by these commissioners while making a decision as to whether the election was free and fair. But walking away creates disunity. It creates the image that that whole activity was not free and fair.
Thank you very much. The second point you raised was very interesting.
Before you vacate that, this touches on the point that FCPA and we asked you. The result at the tallying center is mathematical. It's a figure, and there cannot be 2 figures. And of course, you are conscious of Justice 𝐋𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐮 et al. Ruling on the minor Kiai case, that the results are as announced at the polling station.
Yes.
So I'm wondering why the chair will be encouraging part of the commissioners to write and dissenting opinion on what? Because the figures are mathematical.
Now that is where the question comes in, Chair, because it is very mathematical. I agree with you. It's a matter of 1 + 1 is equal to 2. But people have sat in a boardroom and have refused to agree on those figures of, they have done their 1 + 1 and it has gone to 7. So there is a result, which will be announced by the IEBC commissioner. However, other people have said, we do not agree on this.
Even be a boardroom issue here.
If they are just told, you go away,
Okay.
what do Kenya read into that? and the affairs of IEBC. That is where we get a situation where people do not trust IEBC. Why are they dissenting? It is mathematics. But you see, if I come and give my reason why I'm dissenting, then you are able to make a decision as a Kenyan and see, hey, what you're saying does not make sense. But when I just walk away and you don't know, and the Kenyans don't know what that person has left, then that creates an issue as to the credibility of the electoral system.
Thank you again, Chair. The second point you raised that was very interesting is to say that IEBC should not be enjoined as a respondent in a matter. I'm just requesting you to sort of clarify for the panel and for Kenyans what that means. Take, for example, the scenario where you responded that the applicant who would be the losing candidate would sue the winning candidate. What if the winning candidate said, listen, this election was free and fair, was conducted by a neutral arbiter, the IEBC, I have nothing further to say, I'm not the one who conducted the election. And therefore the result stands. And you have sued me, I'm not the one who conducted the election, I was declared the winner. And then the judge, as you said, the judge then gives the IEBC the timeline and says, bring this evidence that you conducted, you didn't conduct a free and fair election leading to the loss of this person, or you rigged the election. So, I mean, would the IEBC be expected to actually accuse itself by providing evidence that shows that they bungled the election, therefore the applicant lost? That is the dilemma that I'm seeing, but perhaps you can explain yourself what you meant by that. That would be useful. Thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. Koki. Mrs. Koki, Ambassador Koki, through the chair. Again, what I'm trying to say is that our system in Kenya, the legal system, is adversarial. It is not inquisitive. The court is not allowed to call for evidence, do an investigation, and come up with the answer. What we do is you sue the person, you start the petition. So when I am defending myself, I will put only to the court only the information that is enough to defend myself. And that's why IEBC should not be a party to that suit. But the law as it is, should be able to require that IEBC, a petition has been filed in Kisumu County, and within 7 days, IEBC should provide all the information, because you are an independent arbitrator. There's nothing to hide. You're not trying to prove that you did the elections wrongly or rightly. You're supposed to present to the court that information, and the court to make a decision whether how it was conducted, how the results were read, how the results were tallied was the proper way. It is it's an arbitrator. The minute you put IEBC together with the winner, and by experience, that's what you do. You start working together with IEBC. And IEBC then only provides minimal information to the court, in which case, again, we go to the process of, was that election free and fair? Because if it's free and fair, why would IEBC require to hide the information? The arbitrator is the court. Then you provide that the court audit that process and give a judgment as to whether that was done properly. That would actually go very far into building confidence within the IEBC.
Thank you very much, Wakili. Thank you very much, Chair.
Finally, Professor Adams will ask some questions to you.
Wanjiku, during your presentation, you demonstrated a good grasp of the constitutional journey and the electoral journey the country has gone through. Who was the chair of the Electoral Commission of Kenya? The first one in the after the return of multi. No, in 1992.
1992, 1997, that was 𝐋𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐤𝐮. That is the earliest I had an engagement with the electoral system.
Okay,
I remember Kiboito, yes.
all right. Who is the current chair of the Council of Governors?
Forgotten Abdullahi from one of the counties in the.
Thank you.
I have forgotten his
Thank
name.
you, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Wanjiku. It's now the time for you to crack the joke for us. If you have any comment or question to ask, kindly do so.
I will say that, as like I said, my name represents the constitutional aspirations of the people of Kenya, and I would like to be given this opportunity to serve the people of Kenya in the capacity of IEBC chair, because I think even the name will go very well in ensuring this confidence by the people of Kenya in IEBC.
I hope you remember the hustler narrative. Allow me to thank you for the time that we have spent with you. We have learned a lot from you. Thank you very much for allowing us to come into your space, to know you, to appreciate who you are and the capacity that you have. And we indeed are grateful that you spend time with this panel in this manner. We look forward to finishing this process today of looking for chair in terms of interviews. And we wish you well, praying that it shall go well with you, and we'll finally have a chair that will chair the IEBC for us. Feel free to pick the water. You have a notebook and your certificates. Kindly don't leave them for us. Yes, ensure that you have all your documents with you. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you too, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the Fourth Estate. Again, we will ask you to give us a few minutes. We will be back with the next interviewee at 11 o'clock.